Welcome to Dwellings, a podcast from the City of San Jose Housing Department, where we talk with thought leaders about reducing unsheltered homelessness, building affordable housing, and key housing policies. I'm Jeff Scott, and I'll be your host for Season 6 of Dwellings. On today's episode, we talk with Cupid Alexander, Deputy Director in the Housing Department. We'll discuss the city's strategy for reducing unsheltered homelessness and the tactics and partnerships helping us make progress in that effort. And with that, welcome Cupid. Why don't you start off by telling us a little bit about yourself?
Thanks for being here. Again, it's Cupid Alexander. I am the Deputy Director of Housing. I'm one of two deputies, and I'm specifically focused on the homelessness response and those who are unsheltered.
Great. Again, thanks for joining us, Cupid. Can you share with our listeners a little bit about your history? I know you've been here for about a year. What were you doing before you came here?
I've worked in everywhere. I'm originally from Portland, Oregon, but I've worked in housing departments. I've worked at housing authorities. I've worked for mayors. And then most recently, I was more like a chief operating officer of a very large housing authority. My parents are here, so it was an awesome opportunity to not only continue to fulfill my life's mission, but to continue to do good work in a community that I think is focused on one of the generational challenges of our time.
Can you share your thoughts at a high level with our listeners about where you think our homelessness response is going?
Well, I think it's going in the direction of increasing the available options to immediately house individuals. But I think we have to take a pause to kind of demystify what we're talking about. I know if I was listening, I'd say it seems like homelessness is increasing. We know that our current unsheltered numbers we have about 6,200 something individuals, but more specifically 6,266 who are unhoused. And every night there's about 4,300 who are unsheltered. So what we are doing under the mayor's leadership, under our director's leadership, in concert with the county and the housing authority and the city of San Jose's city council, is that we're looking at options and opportunities to increase the supply currently. I know it doesn't feel like that to some individuals, but you'll see that our dedicated focus together is how do we increase supply immediately to interrupt what's called acuity. So I'm going to take a pause there because people are going to wonder, what is acuity? Think about that individual who might have a mental health challenge, who might be very, very sick, and for some reason you've seen this unhoused person a lot. We have decided to target individuals like that to decrease their acuity because we capture it within the system. That means that the city or the county is going to have to respond either way. Sometimes individuals are self-medicating. Sometimes the exposure to the elements cause more of a response from us. We're saying, well, what if we reach out to that person in some of these targeted outreach engagement areas and try to get them housed first stably? So that has been where the city of San Jose is focused. And then we're also having a neighborhood level response, which I think is one of the trade-offs that in our supply conversation. Again, as I'm changing subjects to give you a holistic understanding, what that means is that we are also saying if we increase housing supply in your community, we are going to give a local preference of about 1.5 miles to the individuals who are encamped within your immediate community. And we're going to house them first, and then we're opening it up to the other opportunities for other individuals who are unhoused. So community members are seeing a direct response when we place units there. So this is relatively new, but we think that this type of targeted and outreach engagement methodology is going to see immediate results, but we also want to brace for impact. What I'm talking about is we're seeing conversations at the federal level that are reducing funding mechanisms for things like this. So for some of the housing interventions, for some of the housing options that keep you unhoused in the first place, some of the prevention that the city does not own, city does not provide, our federal partners do, we are bracing for impact. We don't know what that means yet, but we know that there could be, should there be a lack of resources, the possibility of more housing insecurity, and the city is preparing for it.
So can you give us an example of kind of shorter term housing and shelter solutions? We've all heard the mayor speak many times about this notion of interim housing. And I know the city's working on some other homelessness solutions, but can you give our listeners some kind of a concept of what we're talking about other than permanent housing?
Yeah, and I would think of it as lanes, right? So where are individuals unhoused? How are they unhoused? And how is the city responding to it? One of the ways is that you see oversized lived-in vehicles. In fact, we have a great Department of Transportation that focuses on individuals who are living in vehicles. So we have an option where there are safe parking, both Santa Teresa and Berryessa. Berryessa just opened, but these are safe parking sites where individuals who are in oversized lived-in vehicles can safely park. There we have case managers. There we have restroom facilities. There we have job programs. There we have site security. So it allows individuals to get off the streets. As many know, because of the success of such programs, people want more. There's simply not enough, but we are starting to take a bite of the elephant one bite at a time. The next lane would be something, and it's new coming up. It's going to be a navigation hub. So you see it in San Diego, you see it in some other places where individuals can be in tents. We don't have a large tent structure. What we decided is that that's where we're going to redirect individuals to immediately get them into somewhere and then redirect them to other housing options. So that's one lane. Another lane is going to be congregate shelters. So congregate is what we work on with the county, and that's more of the open style concept, getting you in a bed. They manage it by bed. Some of it is shared spaces. Some of it might have respite spaces. But think of that as the opportunity for you to get immediately inside. We also run what's called our overnight warming locations. So think of areas where it's extreme cold or extreme weather conditions. We actually team up with Parks and Recreation and Neighborhood Services. We call that PNRS. So there's the ability to do that congregate style. And then the final one that everyone is thinking about are the tiny homes. So modular construction, we call those emergency interim housing units. So we do have that. And then the final lane that I would like to say is our home key projects. So those are adaptive reuse. Think of motels, hotels that can be reconditioned and then used for temporary housing to get people into more of a permanent housing solution. So think of it as a 5-lane highway. We have operation costs for each of those lanes. And then we have acquisition costs and redevelopment costs and maintenance costs. But we feel like those 5 options, and I want to call this out. As we do this and we consider this community development, we do encourage and have a strong expectation that our neighbors that we're helping are as committed to their upward mobility as we are. And we see it a lot. So we're going to continue down that path, but I just want to indicate that as our outreach, and I know we'll get to outreach and what our outreach teams do, we engage with individuals with the expectation, and we're usually well received, that we're working towards a solution every single day, and that's the angle that we take. It's not that we take no as an answer versus what would it take to get you to your next step, and simply and strategically committing to doing that every single day.
Now, you mentioned in one of those lanes, you talked about other resources that are there when people go to the safe parking site, like job search assistance and case management. Are these types of solutions or these types of resources available in all of these lanes? So if I go to the navigation center or interim housing, am I also going to find these resources?
You are absolutely going to find these resources. That's because our operational model, as kind of given by the city council and the mayor and our director, is that you have access to resources at every single step that you go. So our operations partners, which are nonprofits here, have robust systems that they can connect you to. We have agreements with Goodwill that can help you get into a jobs program. We have agreements with the county that get you into the community queue for other long-term and permanent housing solutions. We have agreements with the housing authority. I like to say it's an all hands on deck, no wrong door type of philosophy, where we're saying, even if you go somewhere and it might be the wrong door, we're going to redirect you to the right one. And I think that approach is what we're focusing on, because as we offer someone, we want to be able to catch them within this system. And the system is meant to say, okay, what does it take? Where are you at? We even offer Homeward Bound, which was one of the mayor's initiatives on getting you connected to family members and recreating that relationship, because we all need a social network. So at every single lane that we have, at a minimum, we have a case manager that can connect you to a broader network. And then we have strong agreements with the county that get you into the community queue. The thing is that we are organizing this to target and outreach those who are the neediest. Of course, they do something that's called the VASPDAT, a long acronym. We'll have to explain that out later.
Hi, listeners. It's Jeff here. I want to briefly explain what VI-SPDAT means to give Cupid's comment a little more context. It is an abbreviation for Vulnerability Index Service Prioritization Decision Assistance Tool. That's a mouthful, but it's basically a brief survey that helps us better understand the needs of each homeless resident. Now back to our episode.
But it assesses where you are physically and mentally, and then it organizes it in a ranking system based off your acuity. So we're really committed to interrupting individuals getting sicker and then rapidly rehousing them throughout these lanes.
A lot of the work that we do in the housing department starts with outreach. We actually have people on the ground out there talking to our unhoused residents. Can you talk a little bit about the staff and their dedication and the work they do when they go and introduce themselves and engage with unhoused residents?
Absolutely. I call our outreach team the tip of the spear. They are the first individuals who create relationships. And I can't stress this enough. They are very relational. So we have an outstanding leadership team on the HRD side. I would name every single person. We just don't have enough time on this podcast. But the first thing that they do is they go out and they try to build a relationship. I think there's a separation between what outreach does and what enforcement does. And these are outreach specialists. So they have to build this relationship. The thing that they're trying to go for is resolving your unhoused situation. That's their overall goal. The strategy that we take is very relational. So we'll say, hey, what's your name? Here's my name. Sometimes we get a terrible response. We say, okay, we'll be back tomorrow. As we build relationships, we're trying to get them in the database and identify information that might bring resources to them. Are they a veteran? Are they someone who's disabled? This is very, very, very practical work. It just takes a long time because we cannot demand and receive because we don't have badges. So we try to build this information because we're trying to resolve someone's unhoused situation. Now, I also want to demystify something. If the city has decided to relocate individuals because there's a floodplain, there's work that needs to be done, we have a relationship with Valley Water and they're doing work. As we're resolving this, we are asking sometimes very affirmatively that individuals relocate to somewhere else. So I do want to put that out there, but all of our work is very relational. They're going out there, they're doing very practical things. Do you have Social Security? Do you have SSDI, Social Security Disability Insurance? Do you have a current case manager? Are you someone who currently needs medication for any reason? How are your physical needs? This is a part of the assessment that we do, but the whole goal and the central organizing principle from this community that I've seen is that we can do better than having our unhoused neighbors sleep on sidewalks. And the expectation that we have for our team is that we're affirmatively working towards committing to getting their unhoused situation resolved.
To reach as many people as possible, we have both city staff who do outreach, and we also partner with some nonprofits who also have outreach workers to kind of expand our net, so to speak.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. So we do have city staff that work and they're focused on some of the targeted areas and some of the waterway areas. And then we have sometimes 40 to 50 contracted staff through our partners, through basically two primary partners that do outreach in some of our targeted outreach and engagement areas. So they're constantly trying to engage with individuals. They're constantly looking at where they are. We are aligning them with housing. So when we have available housing, and it is limited supply, but when we have available housing, we go on an encampment resolution model. What an encampment resolution model says is that we're going to focus on these high visibility areas, some of these large encampments, and when we have housing, we're going to directly connect them to the housing, letting them know that an option is not that they can stay where they're at. Not that they have to take the housing. I want to reiterate that because people will think that we're trying to force housing, even though we strongly encourage housing. But what we do let them know is that when housing is available and we offer it, the expectation is that you're going to be involved in your own upward mobility, and we will assist you in that, but that you cannot stay there because the opportunity does exist for you to get inside. The beautiful thing is a majority of the people do take that.
I know many people, as we walk around neighborhoods in San Jose, we will see a vehicle that's clearly being lived in. And sometimes those vehicles appear to the untrained eye to be operable. Sometimes they might be inoperable. In order to kind of reduce the barrier and help people get their vehicle off the street and into safe parking, do we always require that a vehicle be operable and currently registered, or do we have some wiggle room there to help people get their vehicles off the street even if it's not necessarily in the best condition?
For those who are listening, I fed this question to them because I'm proud of this work. We have very, very extremely low barrier parking spaces for individuals to go to. So you do not have to have registration. It does not have to be operable. Our goal is to get it off the street somewhere safe. So the city takes on that risk, the insurance risk, because you do not need to have insurance. But I think it reaffirms our organizing principle, which is simply solving and getting to functional zero on housing, homelessness, and lived-in vehicles. So as that's our goal, we've had various conversations. We've consulted with legal. We've consulted with lived-in experts. We've consulted with lived experience experts also. We've consulted with city leadership, making sure that this is the direction that we want to go, because it did indicate a new level of risk, and that was a risk we took on with the backing of the city manager's office and the mayor's office and city leadership in getting oversized lived-in vehicles resolved, especially some of those who have been damaged. And then when you're on site, we offer repairs. We offer to get you can let go of your vehicle and get into housing. We're still, like I said, the primary commitment is getting you into a stable housing situation. So at every single step, though you might be in your vehicle, if at any point you're saying, I would let go of my vehicle and get into housing, we're putting you in the queue to get you the next available housing option. It doesn't mean that you'll rise to the top that day, because we still have to organize on a principle that allows for fair housing and at least some sort of identification of who we're going to select in alignment with city priorities. But if you were to say, hey, I'm in a vehicle, but I would love to be in this housing, can you all get rid of my vehicle? That's something that is done. And sometimes people do take advantage of that. The other part of it is that sometimes it's seen as a long-term solution, so they look at it as mobile home park. We remind them that this is a safe parking solution. The expectation is that either you get to a mobile home if your vehicle is in that condition and you can pay space rent, or we get you into some sort of stable housing. We're trying to resolve this so you feel comfortable and you're a part of this community.
How is the city helping with prevention, and how do you see that playing into our entire homelessness prevention strategy?
One of the goals of the city of San Jose is that landlords and tenants get the best possible solution. The cheapest way to solve for homelessness is to prevent it from ever happening. So we have a whole team that does prevention work. We have partners within the community that work with landlord-tenant resolution teams and hotlines to kind of understand what the challenges are. Some of our community partners have resources to help pay some of your bills if you're a little bit behind. The idea is that if we keep you in your housing, that's a better solution than you getting on the streets. And then if you happen to get on the streets, we have our rapid rehousing program and our tenant-based rental assistance programs that we're aligning with the county to make sure that as you get into the queue, as you get on that list, it identifies those families that have been unhoused for a short amount of time and rapidly rehouses them, because before you've used every single relationship you have, you've couch surfed, you've used every social safety net program, and then you get into homelessness, your acuity level has gone up, like we said before. If we can catch you earlier than that, it ends up being a cost-effective way, and that's part of the prevention strategy. One of the ways that people don't take advantage of it is that either they don't know it or they sometimes feel like it's not for them. So I'm saying, if you're hearing this and you're thinking that, I don't know, call our office. We have the prevention line, the Here For You hotline with the county is a good way for you to determine if there is resources out there. But if it's a pride thing, I'm telling you, let go of it now. We have solutions. And sometimes that might be, if I'm just calling out the elephant in the room, is people sometimes don't feel like it's for them, or they don't want other people to know. We, of course, have privacy requirements. So we are assisting as many people as possible, but it's limited resources. So if you're thinking about it, definitely jump in.
Well, Cupid, you've given us a lot of information. I really appreciate your time. Before we wrap up, can you kind of take us through your view at a high level of what the future holds, where we're heading right now?
So the future for the city of San Jose is a commitment to getting to functional zero. So when we're talking about functional zero means that we have more people exiting homelessness than entering into homelessness. The idea is that homelessness doesn't necessarily go away, but what it means is that we interrupt those who have been homeless for a long time, that we rapidly rehouse individuals, and as the economy changes, fluctuates, natural disasters occur, things like that, we are prepared to either scale up or scale down the resources that we need. It gives us this dexterity, and it's a principle that says we will have more people exiting homelessness than entering into homelessness. With that, there are so many partners that I think you're going to see our elected leadership and the city manager's office and our director advocate for additional resources. What you've seen and what the charge that I have is from that leadership is to get to sustainable operational models. So that means that we are looking to leverage the resources that we have. We're looking to make sure that we have adequate staffing. We're looking to make sure that they're trained. We're encouraging individuals to build these relationships. We're reminding them of the commitment that they have to themselves. And then we're also watching where the federal investments are going to go. So the federal government is a huge partner, and we look forward to them continuing to be a huge partner. And then you're going to see the elected officials, and I'm sure you've seen the mayor and, of course, our director advocating for resources. Specifically, we have something called Housing and Homelessness Assistance Program. That's a huge state resource that we have that allows us to continue to pay for operations at our sites. And then you're also seeing that the county is looking and investing in our homelessness prevention system. And so the city has invested more, and we continue to go down that path. So I think right now you're going to see an influx of options and opportunities to resolve and get to functional zero in homelessness. And then you're going to see a lot of our community partners and our state officials and even local officials look at different funding streams and funding lines. So with that, you will continue to see a relentless pursuit of operational efficiencies and a commitment to community engagement.
Great. Well, Cupid, thank you very much. Really appreciate your time this morning. Very enlightening conversation. Thanks for listening to Dwellings, the City of San Jose Housing Department podcast. Our theme music is Speed City, composed and performed by Attain Charles. Thanks to San Jose Jazz for letting us use their music. If you like the show, please subscribe and share with your friends and family. If you're looking for more ways to help address housing and homelessness issues in San Jose, please check out the show notes. You can follow the Housing Department on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at SJ City Housing. And if you have questions or comments about today's episode, please send them to housingcoms@sanjoseca.gov. The artwork on our website was created by Chelsea Palacio. Dwellings is produced by me, Jeff Scott, and Jose Chavez of the Housing Department.